Hello again, crew. Didn't expect to see me again so soon, did ya? Frankly, neither did I. But again, here we are, and today we're going to be talking about how I turned a movie script into a full-on published novel. So, talking about that specifically, we have a number of different factors and questions that are certainly part of the end product with that. The number one question I would imagine might be, why? Only preceded by how. But we'll start with the why. And the why in my particular case is because I wanted to be able to expand my universe, my repertoire, an emporium with more content. So the books, again, I never imagined having books ever in the first place. I just imagined straight to movies and then some cool video game spin-offs and that sort of thing. But the bookification process that I went through was honestly, I'm going to say amazing as a net. It wasn't fun per se, but I did enjoy many aspects of it, so I guess that's kind of a win. And I would imagine that if you're watching this, then maybe that's something you might be interested in doing yourself, or maybe you just kind of want to hear about the process, or maybe you just like me, which is kind of cool, and I appreciate the devil out of you. So the next piece that we'll go ahead and address is arguably the more important question, which is how. And for me, it was really about sitting there, looking at my content and knowing what I had to do, kind of freestyling from there, frankly. But in all seriousness, you want to address your genre and start from there. So in my particular case, again, with this being a fantasy action adventure, I wanted to reference something that was again another expanded big old universe, another highly praised and well-known work that was tried and true. So for me, the obvious choice was Harry Potter. And no, there's not necessarily overlaps in any way, shape, or form outside of, again, the fantasy aspect and, again, the expanded universe aspect. But as far as, obviously, content and so forth, yeah, not even close. But with that, what I did, because, again, I don't read books, I'm not a book kind of guy, don't, again, let that detract from the fact that this is super sweet, swear. But rather, you want to have a reference point. And so, for me, the Harry Potter series having, 6 books, maybe 7? Gosh, I know so many purists are going to crucify me, and I deserve it. There's no question about that. But again, plenty of books, plenty of content, and so I looked at the first Harry Potter, so the Sorcerer's Stone, and I just kind of read through random bits and so forth, but I started with the beginning. How did they open? How did they start off a book? Because it's not the same as just writing in, a beginning and opening scene. It's you have to have all of these pieces and elements, things that I would have never really thought about in the context, again, of the book process or the bookification, now that we're doing it in an inverse fashion. So finding the way that they opened and then looking at my source material and seeing how I can sort of, again, replicate that, but to my own work, obviously. And by replicate, I don't mean, changing the words to kind of meet that, the opening and that version of, like old school plagiarism in school where you change a few words but take the same exact thing. Because obviously that doesn't work. But rather seeing the structure and understanding the structure and then going through, a few paragraphs, flipping through a few random pages, seeing the way the dialogue works and so forth. So, again, I started there. And then I pulled up Harry Potter on one screen, and then I pulled up my script on another screen, and I just sort of started typing stuff. That's kind of the best way to put it. I just started typing stuff. And ultimately, yeah, it kind of worked. But just to give you guys a visual example of what I'm talking about, here I've got one of the scripts from the very first movie. And, you're just going to see this big old blurb there of where I talk about the way that the scene opens up, and I have the dialogue separated out by who's talking and so forth. But again, there's so many different emotional pieces and other things that are sort of obvious givens when it comes down to what's actually happening on screen. So it's not a direct translation. and you have to add the taglines and all these other things and make it so that it comes off in a cohesive fashion without adding too many unnecessary words, both between the dialogue and the exposition. So again, with with that was kind of, I saw more of that process as a within the fine-tuning elements, where it helped my writing as a grand whole doing this, because I didn't realize there were certain things that I kind of repeated over, or that I didn't have as much fluency on that I thought I did, even being like iteration 4 into the script. So again, having this process and doing something that I was completely uncomfortable with gave me the opportunity to learn and do better. And that's kind of the whole point of this now is, again, if you're on this journey or you're interested in writing or anything like that, just know that sincerely, the sky is the limit. And the only thing you can't do are going to be the things that you sternly commit to the belief on that. And I'm the kind of person that likes to rise to the challenge. Okay, let's back it up. I don't like to rise to the challenge. I guess I just know how to rise to the challenge. And, it's one of my few favorable traits. Let's just go ahead and look at one more example. I'll go ahead and read sort of a direct comparison between the bookified version and the script version. But again, I certainly won't have any spoilers or anything like that. We'll just do a kind of a generic scene and we'll see how it plays out. Okay, so script version first. Zaxxum. Well, don't mind if I do. The scene immediately transitions as he begins to take a few steps forward. Zaxxum is now nearing the entrance, relative, and a man on a horse can be seen exiting the village. As the man heads out, closer towards Zaxxum, he dismounts his horse and speaks. Okay, and then he goes on to say, "What are you doing traveling these parts, stranger? You are bound to get yourself killed." Conversely, bookification version. Well, don't mind if I do, Zaxxum mutters, straightening his posture and making his way on towards the entrance of the village. Exiting the conglomerate of desolation is a man leading a horse. He has short, snow-white hair and a scar that runs down his left cheek. He has narrow, frozen blue eyes sharp enough to slice through diamonds. Eyes like these make for a handsome combination, fitted alongside his lean face and fair complexion. Around his neck is a medium-length white shawl that drapes neatly over his lightly armored body. He has an exquisite white and silver bow fixed to his back, alongside a matching quiver full of arrows. The bow has a gentle white aura that glows elegantly around it. His entire entity has an air of mysticism, tamed by that of a serenity of calm befitting that of a very old and very wise wizard. Taking notice of Zaxxum just as he is about to mount his horse, he decides to stay on foot out of respect. This is a very telling move. A heightened position would have its implications after all. "What are you doing traveling these parts, stranger? You are bound to get yourself killed," the stranger comments. So, and in that case, I actually ended up refining that last line there to the most recent version of the book, which I'm currently not handling, but you would have by purchasing it today. Down below in the link. The book version, again, I found expansions, and even again, the minute details between where originally this character was coming out of the village already on his horse, versus now in the book, and what will be the later screen version, is where he's about to mount the horse rather than hopping off in the first place. So, again, we have the differences between what happens, and that just was a natural byproduct of change throughout the narrative of what seemed right as I've refined and tuned things. So, again, I will expand more on this, and if you guys have got any questions down below, then we'll go over those. But again, this is just kind of part one of this piece, and I will talk more and more about this, as if I haven't emphasized that enough already. And yeah, we will see you guys again for the next video.